Oh my goodness, is that who I think it is?
Oh man.
We are back for another year of the Swampy Coliseum Podcast. My name is Andrew Hudson. That is my friend Nathaniel Gilmore, and we're back. Baby, how we doing?
Oh, we are back and we are better than ever. Another season of hope, undashed hope. Oh man, it's great. This is probably the best time of year besides actually watching the games because man, college football, it's here.
It is, and my team's undefeated. Your team's undefeated. We've got nowhere to go but up, but also
Exactly.
maybe down from here.
Maybe a little bit.
But man, today we've got a quick episode for you today. Some off-season preview, a little review of what's happened to USC and to Florida, talking about our top 10 in the rankings, and we're going to give all of our predictions for this year. This is our prediction episode. So we'll see at the end of the year how wrong we all are or how right we are. We'll see.
Who
But
knows?
let's go ahead and get it started talking to USC. Hey, you're Trojans coming off of last season. Like, how are we looking coming into 2025?
Yeah, it's a weird mix of optimism, but also, cautionary, like, all right, we've kind of been here before. Just looking into 2 years ago, when Caleb Williams left, but we're like, oh man, we won the bowl game, beat Louisville. We looked good. The young team looked good. The culture looked good. That was the whole thing. Like we had a renewed culture. We had a new defensive coordinator, which ended up being a great hire, and we're just going to roll into the next season.
Hmm.
And then it turned out the offensive line wasn't there. The quarterback was getting hammered until he just didn't look like himself anymore. And it was a rocky season. But we ended it beating Texas A&M, um, even with a bunch of guys transferring. And I think this offseason is just a continued growth of what you can tell is Lincoln Riley's vision. We hired a GM from Notre Dame, Chad Bowden, which was probably one of the biggest moves we could have made. I think we have a top one or two recruiting class for 2026. We didn't do a ton in the portal. We got John Ray Reed, John J. Reed. There we go. But he's not even he was the starting center for Syracuse. He's not even on our starting depth chart. We got two defensive tackles, one from Kentucky, one from Georgia. Both of them are just, backup pieces. For the most part, probably our biggest splash was DJ Harvey, the corner from San Jose State, who looks really good in camp, and Bishop Fitzgerald, safety from NC State. But I think the main focus of this team is offensively, how well is Maava going to do? He has Jacoby Lane um, and Mekhi Lemon, which were my two favorite wide receivers from the group that we had. Sad we lost Zachariah Branch, but I
Hmm.
think he needed to go somewhere. His speed wasn't flashing his second year. Something was off when we are trying to force feed him the ball. Deuce Robinson, big playmaker, a little soft in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. Just didn't attack the ball well, but I think yeah, we have two great wide receivers, and it's going to be Maava's job to get them the ball. We also got a new running back room. Wayman Jordan, from one of the best JUCO running backs I've ever seen. It was interesting. We went so hard after, oh man, which JUCO was it? It's in Kansas. I should know this. I like talked to so many kids that went there when I worked in Kansas. But yeah, so I think the offense is going to be good, and I think it's going to be how well can we run the ball, and honestly, how well can this offensive line play? If they do better than last year, I think we're gonna be on a good path. Defensively, it's just trust Danton Lynn. We hired Rob Ryan from NFL. He's our linebacker. We still have Coach Henny, the old Rams D line coach as our D line coach, and it's yeah, it's been a pretty cool grouping. I think Chad Bowden's done a great job hiring and kind of letting Lincoln Riley focus on X's and O's, like, he's getting paid to do. So it's, it's that same thing of like, oh, there's a lot of optimism, but now it's time to really, see what this team's made of. Is the culture set in? Um, is, the youth of this team, is it going to, you know, show up, or are they going to be led by a bunch of veteran leaders, which it doesn't seem like we have at the moment, besides Kamari Ramsey.
Mm,
Um, Probably Makai Lemon is the other one, but we do this weird thing where we have weekly captains. So we don't have like
mm.
captains. We just have every week you vote for it. And I'm like, I feel like you should probably have, I don't know. That's just me though.
It's too
Um,
much voting.
yeah, I'm like, all right, just name the captains, have a guy you can look up to when times are tough, instead of like, all right, who did I vote for this week? But yeah, looking at the schedule, it's a pretty easy one. We start off the year playing Missouri State, which if we don't blow this team out, it's going to be a long season. But Lincoln Riley's done a good job. Clay Helton just could not blow out bad teams for the
Mm,
life of him. But yeah, looking down the road, our biggest tests are going to be going to Oregon, going to Notre Dame, and probably going to Illinois. It's a good veteran team on the road, and it's going to be our first big test in, like, I think beginning of October. So I think optimistically, 10-2 season, you can kind of see a 8-4, snuggled in there. Anything lower is a little bit of a disappointment. So
mm.
yeah, we'll see how it goes. I think it'll all be riding on how well Jaden Mayava does. Is he going to be that gunslinger he was last year, where he throws a ton of touchdowns, but also has a bunch of boneheaded mistakes? So yeah, it's going to be riding on him and how well the rest of the offense can kind of go around him. If we run the ball as much as we did last year, we're going to go 7-6. So we just need to give Wayman Jordan the football, because he's from JUCO, man. It's not like he's a 4 or 5 star that we have to be fragile with. Dude, let him run.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, unfortunately, I listen to more information about college football from the Southeast for the most part, and so the two names that I've heard the most from USC over this summer have been Deuce Robinson and Zachariah Branch.
Florida
And
State.
yeah, they're both gone. So yeah, man, that I can see things looking up for USC. And like you said, really for you and for both of our teams and in all of college football, it rests on the shoulders of the quarterback.
Yeah.
You know, Maava, and for UF, DJ Lagway. And who knows? And is he healthy right now? Is he not? That's been the story of the summer, I'd say. It's been interesting really all summer. We're coming off of a 8-5 season, ended the year winning a bunch of games. DJ Lagway playing pretty well over the end of the season, beating Tulane in our bowl game, and with a lot of optimism. When you look at a lot of off-season rankings, have had Florida look really good in terms of their roster, saying we have a top five quarterback room, a top five offensive line room, a top five defensive line room, that really our trenches are coming back strong. We had Austin Barber, Jake Slaughter, who was uh, the All American center last season, coming back for another year. Defensive linemen like Tyreek Sapp, Caleb Banks, these guys who were Caleb Banks being one looked at in the draft, but decides to come back for another year. Our trenches are really built up to be strong, and that's what you need. I mean, you need ground game, be able to stop the run, and you got to have a quarterback who can let it all go. So I'm really encouraged by that. And the question I feel a lot has come down to Billy Napier's coaching, because this is by far the best roster that he's had in his time at Florida. Our team looks overall to be pretty stacked with talent, but also having returning experience from the previous years. And our defense also, along with that uptick in how our team played last year, our defense started playing fantastic. They were getting sacks, they were getting turnovers. Previously, under Armstrong, our previous defensive coordinator, it was a mess out there. But they made a switch. We've got a defensive coaching switch coming into this year, and everything looks to be in order. So that gives me a lot of hope. It gives me a lot of optimism and confidence going into this year. And the big question that we're going to see is what is the story in this wide receiver room? Because we've got some young guys who could turn out to be the best receiver room, one of the best in the country, if it is what everyone thinks. Dallas Wilson, who we flipped from Oregon, looks like a stud. Right? In the spring game, he had like 10 catches for 200 plus yards and a couple touchdowns. He looks the part. He's like, the build of that Jeremiah Smith as a freshman. A similar style, and man, if he can really be what everyone's saying, it can be awesome. Vernell Brown the third, another freshman wide receiver, smaller size, able to make quicker plays. Those two guys coming in as freshmen, along with previous wide receivers that we had, of course, Trey Wilson the third. We've got Aiden Mizell. Our running back room has been really good since last year. So if we've got a healthy DJ Lagway who can get the ball to these playmakers, the sky's the limit, And we have what they're calling again the toughest schedule in America, which the SEC, they got so lazy this past year where they said that the SEC schedule is just the same as last year, but just flipping home and away. So all those teams that we played last year that they said was the hardest schedule in America, we go right around and play them again. And thankfully, there's some. I think it's a little easier this year. One with some previous quarterbacks leaving from other schools that makes our game seem a little easier, but we've got a game like Texas this year is at home, and we maybe don't have as strong of it doesn't look as strong necessarily as last year. Of course, Georgia um, lost their quarterback Carson Beck and going with Gunnar Stockton. Now we don't know exactly how he's going to look, but you put a schedule, kind of a record on yours, and I don't know if I would say the ceiling for Florida. Ugh, yeah, my optimism wants to say 10-2 as well. Uh, and the thing with a difficult schedule is if you have a great team, then you don't look at it like the hardest schedule. You just look at it and say, okay, like yeah, we can handle that. Texas looks at their schedule and they're not scared of it. They just say, yeah, well, we're Texas. We're going to handle this. So in the same way, if we really have a team, then we can play well. But so much, I mean, of course, the biggest thing is hinging on the health of DJ Lagway. He has just not shown the ability to consistently stay healthy during the season, also in the off season. So he's supposed to be 100% for our first game, hoping that stays the same and he does fine, but we're going to have to see with that. So yeah, but we have our first game. Watch out for Long Island University on their way down to Gainesville. Uh, didn't know they had a football team. Honestly, didn't know it was a school until a few months ago. But that should be a cakewalk for us to then walk into a game next week against USF, who
Oh
looks
man,
pretty.
pretty
They
good.
looked pretty good in their opener against Boise State, winning what was it, 34-7 or so.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll talk about that one next week. But who's USC opening with? Yeah.
Missouri State.
Okay.
Hey. newly FBS Missouri State. So it doesn't break our record of never playing an FCS school or lower.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, never
Tradition,
FCS or
tradition.
lower.
Yeah.
Florida's made their way down. Definitely. We've done some things we probably shouldn't have over the years. But man, that's a little bit on you got a thought on that?
Oh, I was just gonna say, fun fact, in college basketball, 2K7, way
Mm.
back in the day, I one of the starting teams that you can start off with, Long Island University. I know that because I tried to
Wow.
rebuild Long Island University, and I think I went like 2 years, and I was like, I'm good.
Well, nowadays you get your NIL after freshman year, get out of there, man.
Yeah.
But hey, we've got some other things for you today. That's a little UF and USC recap, but we want to give you our thoughts on this year and really our predictions. So we're going to talk a little bit about the top 10 in the country. Just lay out first of all as we start week 1, what's the top 10 look like? Then we're going to give you our predictions for the playoff. We'll see how many teams we get right when we get to the end of the season. Give you our national champion, give you our Heisman Trophy winner. We'll go from there, but let's look at our top 10 for now. So the AP Top 25 college football rankings, we got Texas holding down that first spot. Arch Manning taking over at quarterback. There's a lot of hope there. Number 2, Penn State. Number 3, Ohio State. Number 4, Clemson. So 4 big right there. Looking at, we've put a lot of highlights on the top 4, especially coming in previously from the 4-14 playoff system. Don't need to look at that as much anymore. It's really open for the whole top 12 now, as we'll talk about as we continue on. But 5 Georgia, 6 Notre Dame, 7 Oregon, 8 Alabama, 9 LSU, 10 Miami. Really interesting look here. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on the opening top 10 rankings or anything about the rankings overall?
I mean, I think that's very it's hard these days to just do, preseason rankings just because of how much teams change. I think back in the day, you're like, all right, you have a pretty good idea of how teams are going to look the next year. Um, just because, you have the same guys coming in and coming out, but now it's, man, there's no way you can know how a team can gel. Like Florida State was started off
Mm.
what top 10 last year, maybe even top 5, I don't remember, and that was just they had a lot of talent. They just had no gel, and DJU was DJU, and you know how that goes. But that's gonna be weird. First year not talking about DJ. It's insane.
Yeah, DJ, as a radio show that I love, has called him DJ Throw It Away Way. He he's gone. He's gone.
Yeah,
We've got
weird.
new quarterbacks to talk about, new quarterbacks to be down on and not trust in, and that'll be the theme of this year. So yeah, there's so many new quarterbacks in this season, which is going to make it really interesting, and it kind of makes you consider if you lean towards those veteran
Yeah,
quarterbacks in
yeah,
your
exactly.
picks or in your what you think is going to happen for the playoffs. But who knows? Someone
Yeah.
might come out of here and show it being big time that we aren't even expecting. So, man, let's get into it. Nathaniel, let's hear your top 12 rankings. So we're going to give our 12-team playoff predictions first. And remember, why don't you remind everyone, Nathaniel, how will the playoff rankings work this year?
Yeah, so last year it was what was it, the five conference champions, the highest ranked five conference champions, and the top four of those automatic bye, which, you know, looking back, hindsight, like you can see stuff like Boise State last year happening, but the thought was you just get the Power Four conferences, you just give them a bye. But then the ACC decided to mix things up, and yeah, so then Boise State got a bye when people thought they shouldn't. So this year they did a little tinkering, and now it's probably how it should have been. So we
Mm,
have, I think it's still, yeah, it's still the top five conference champions auto bid. Except now you don't have any guaranteed spots. So you can have a couple runner-ups in conferences be, seed three, be seed four. That's what I'm guessing is probably going to happen, where probably the runner-up of the SEC or the Big Ten is going to be in that top four. But yeah, it's a free for all. Put them where you're ranked in the CFP playoff rankings, and then CFP playoff. That's like saying chai tea, but CFP rankings at the end of the year, and yeah, and you're ranked where you're supposed to be ranked. So I think that's a good addition. It's definitely going to make the field a little more interesting because now, yeah, it's not as much of, oh, you just kind of lucked out into a bye week just because you may not be in the best conference or stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's going to be really interesting for sure. But let's get it started. So, Nathaniel, who do you have in your playoffs for the season?
Oh, this is hard. I would like to say last year I correctly picked Ohio State in winning before going back on that pick later in the season. But this is all that matters. Preseason picks. By that logic, whoever I pick this year is going to win. But I'm going to just start off with the conference champs just because that kind of makes it easier in my head. This isn't in any ranking because last year, as I discovered, it is extremely hard to just just throw out a bunch of like where everything's going to be. But so I'm going to start off Big Ten. I think Penn State, they are the most veteran team. They kind of look like what Ohio State looked like last year. Um, so I'm going to have Penn State winning the Big Ten,
Okay.
Georgia winning the SEC. I think that
Wow.
one, it's a lot of power players up top, and I'm just going with the coach that has been here the longest.
Yeah.
And he has a few national championships as well.
Fair. Fair. No, a couple. A couple.
Oh,
Not
my
not a
bad.
not a few. He's got
Not a
two.
few,
All
a
right.
couple. My bad, my bad. Um, ACC, going Clemson. Um, I think I'll expand on later, but I think Kate
Mm-hmm.
Klubnik, we're talking about veteran quarterbacks. That's probably one of the most veteran-y quarterbacks that we have out here, with
Yeah.
the good team that should make it far. Big 12, that one's a tough one
Yeah.
because you go Arizona State, they look good, but they don't have Cam Scatterboo, Stingers up. I think Texas Tech made a lot of plays in the portal, and I think even though Quentin Joyner, which love that kid, he's out with an ACL injury, sadly, but I think Texas Tech made all the right moves, and I really like their quarterback Morton.
Mm.
Yeah, and then Group of Five, this one was a big debate. I was in between Tulane and UTSA.
Okay.
Ended up going Tulane just because I feel like they've just been good. They've been a
Yeah.
good, solid team. They also beat someone in the Sugar Bowl a few years ago. But yeah, I don't know
Yikes.
who. I forget. It's escaping my mind. But and now I'll just list off, the rest of these guys. I think Ohio State, great team. They're still going to continue to be great. Notre Dame. They have just a great system in place, even though they, lost some production. Jeremiah Love's probably one of the best probably, not probably. I think he's a top two, top three running back in the country.
Mm.
Texas, I think it doesn't matter as much how well Arch Manning does. I think that team built around him is so good. Like that defensive line is going to continue to be amazing. I think they're going to make it regardless of how well they do. This one, I have Georgia Tech. I think we talk about
Wow.
I think they have a good team. I think another
Yeah.
year I think they're gonna sneak up and be that second ACC team. I was debating them in Miami,
Sure.
and like we were talking about before the show started, I know about like how I know I've seen Oregon in the conference too long. I've seen
Mm-hmm.
Mario Cristobal in just for too long. I don't
Yeah.
think he has what it takes until he proves me wrong. Um, yeah, and then I have Alabama. I think Kalen DeBoer is going to get them right this year. I have your Florida Gators in there. I think I don't know if you're
Yes.
celebrating every time I pick USC, they haven't made it. So
Hey,
maybe it
you gotta have
around.
joy in the hope. Joy in the hope, man.
No, I think Florida, I mean, starting off ranked 15th, I think they have a really great shot, like you're saying, especially DJ Lagway stays healthy. I think you're going to be a top team in the nation. And to close it out, I was really debating this last one too. I think Oregon, if Dante Moore plays decently, I think they're gonna. He doesn't have a
Mm,
ton of weapons to work with because it just feels like their wide receivers are dropping like flies right now. But
right.
if he does above average, I think they are gonna make it. But there's also the possibility he is below average. So I think
Mm-hmm.
be interesting to see. Dan Lanning, sadly, has built a pretty good culture out there. So
Mm,
um, I don't think they'll be as good as they were last year, but I definitely think that they'll sneak into the playoff.
dang. So do you have it 1 through 12?
That's pretty much 1 through 12. I haven't like bracketed it out because you know how they'll be,
Sure.
like, how they'll switch it up to make good matchups at the bottom end. But
Yeah, yeah,
pretty much and then I'll have Tulane not at what I have them at 5. They'll probably
sure,
be like
sure.
10. But yeah.
Well, let's run through it quick. Just give us your full 12
Okay.
straight up.
Let's do Penn State, Georgia, Clemson, Texas Tech, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Texas, Georgia Tech, Florida, Tulane, Alabama, Oregon.
Okay. Very good. Now, and interesting question. We'll go over this with mine as well. How many SEC that means do you have in there?
Oh gosh. Okay. Yeah, I'll split them up between SEC. I think SEC I have 4.
Okay.
I have 4 SEC and I think I have 3 Big Ten, right? Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon. Yeah. I feel like it's probably going to be 4 from each. I can't see them being 5 from either. That would just be ridiculous. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's probably going to be 4 from each.
You never know, man. It is pretty crazy uh, looking at how they're talking about things. Some are considering having whatever certain that it has to be X amount from
Yeah.
Big Ten and SEC. It's ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
it's
Both
trying to be
will.
too much. It's really trying to be too much at that point. But for this, like um, yeah, we've got to stop somewhere. It's like it's not all about you, Big Ten and SEC. We're gonna look somewhere else. But okay, that is your top 12. Let me see. I've got mine here. I'll try and parse it together like you did. I have first on my list. I've got Clemson winning the ACC, and I've got that there because they have the easiest road overall. Now, interestingly enough, the ACC is a pretty easy conference, but they're starting the season with LSU and ending it with South Carolina. So, like, it's tough out of conference games for sure. But I've got Clemson winning the ACC. I've got Penn State winning the Big Ten because of the returning quarterback of Drew Aller and what they have in their system. Now, I don't necessarily totally trust them winning the whole thing, but I could see them winning the Big Ten. Texas is my SEC choice with Arch Manning coming back and Sark, and really just the system they have there. I've got Texas with, I mean, again, you'll see a similarity. The returning quarterbacks versus the new quarterbacks in programs, putting a lot of trust in that. So Clemson, Penn State, Texas in the eight. Where am I in the Big 12? Yeah, this is. I don't have hope for any of these. I look at all the teams and I'm like, which one do I even go with? I
Awesome.
don't know. It's yeah, it's pretty much just. I mean, we saw it last year, where it was like Colorado, Arizona State, Kansas State. All those schools were just like
Yeah.
jockeying to finally make it in, and Arizona State ended up coming out and winning. But
Good.
I,
It was
I'm going. I'm go ahead and going with Iowa State winning the Big 12 this year, with Rocco Becht coming back. With their coach has been talked about having NFL jobs for a long time, but I don't think that's ever going to happen really. But I've got Iowa State, and then my uh, group of whatever team that I have winning it, it's going to be UNLV.
oh,
UNLV. Dan Mullen taking over the running Rebels, who, don't forget, they were one game away from beating Boise State and maybe going to the playoff last year. They've got Dan Mullen coming in, taking over that offense, and I think they can really make things happen. So I'm going UNLV. Uh, I was tempted even to say USF after what we just saw them do, but I'm going UNLV. The rest of my top 12, let me see. I've got LSU with, um, yeah, I'm just having to put my trust in Nussmeier, and I don't necessarily, but
yeah.
I'm gonna say that they're gonna be able to get into the playoff. Ohio State as well, making it through, along with Oregon in the Big Ten. Those two teams, I'd say, finishing fairly similarly. Notre Dame, I've got in there, making the playoff. My next team from the SEC, I'm saying Georgia. Georgia, I think, is going to make it in, even though they have a new quarterback. Uh, Kirby Smart and their team is so strong, so I have confidence in them making it. My second team from the ACC is Miami. You were saying you were debating as well, but for some of these ACC teams, they really have like 2 game schedules. If the season goes as they expect, they should really walk through most of their season, but then have a couple of tough games. So I could see Miami going maybe 10-2, getting into the playoff. I also have my Florida Gators making it somewhere around, my real hope would be like 9-3. That's what I think is, if we're talking ceiling, maybe 10-2. But if we can get through this season 9-3, and give us a chance for the playoffs, that's a good place to be. Um, and yeah, that's my 12 because I finished it off there with Iowa State and UNLV. So again, Clemson, Penn State, Texas, LSU, Ohio State, Oregon, Notre Dame, Georgia, Miami, Florida, Iowa State, UNLV. And with that being said, there are some teams, some pretty good teams on the cutting room floor right
Yeah.
there that I think neither of us mentioned. Alabama, obviously, is
Oh,
right
Alabama
there.
was in mine.
Yeah, yeah, and they're not in mine. And
Oh,
then and then we have others who are like Michigan. They're
yeah.
right there.
Brad
Uh,
Underwood. Who knows?
yeah, Bryce Underwood, freshman. We'll see what he does. There are other good teams from the SEC and the Big Ten who are right around there who we're not putting in. I mean, that battle for like the 11 and 12 spots, probably for, 11 through 18, all those teams are probably going to have an argument for wanting to get in.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, just looking at the top 25, everyone, I mean, we both, 11 and 12, ASU and Illinois, we both don't have in.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, we have a team that made it last year, SMU. I honestly wasn't really in my thought process while making my top 12.
Yeah,
I mean, there's sleepers like OU and Texas A&M, and then you have the not thousands, obviously, the tens, 20s of teams that are outside the top 25 who can, make a run, and who knows what can happen. Like
yeah,
Baylor, Utah, they can win their conference. Um, Auburn might be good this year. Who knows? Is it finally the year that they get it going? Who knows? Who knows? I don't think so, but who
no.
knows?
I don't think so
Jackson
either. I
Arnold.
mean,
Who knows?
yeah, they haven't been able to get it right with the quarterback, and I couldn't see Jackson Arnold being the guy who gets it right. So I don't have much hope in that. But we'll see. Man, it's going to be fun to see how this season plays out. But let's go ahead and pick our national champions. So we've got two more picks to make, champion and Heisman Trophy. So I'm going to start off with the national champion pick. And I'm even still sitting here right now thinking, man, what am I going to say for this? But all right, we'll just talk through a few things. Again, I said kind of a theme for my system is these returning quarterbacks versus the new quarterbacks. So you've got to consider. I consider Arch Manning somewhat of a returning quarterback. He played some last year. Um, he is not totally new, so I don't necessarily have him in this category. But you've got Ohio State. Bringing it, was it Julian Sand taking over at Ohio State? Oregon has their new quarterback. Notre Dame, new quarterback. Georgia, new. Miami is Carson Beck, but uh, still new in their system, and I don't have much faith in him anyway. These teams who have been vying for a championship are are new and looking for something different. So I'm going with one of these returners to be able to make it all the way and win it. And with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and go with my number one team. I'm picking Clemson to win the whole thing. And man, it's almost like it, it's almost it's almost out of not trusting anyone else. And the hard thing is I haven't trusted Clemson that much over all their time. But the thing is, obviously Dabo Swinney has done it before. It's been a while. They with him not really taking transfers, they've been out of the system for a bit, but they had a good year last year. They ended the season in the regular season losing to South Carolina, but still, Cade Klubnik had a fantastic year. He's coming back for his final season. They've got a strong defense as always. They've got some returning playmakers making their way through the ACC. I think they'll be able to do it and then be able to make their way through the playoff. So I'm going with the Clemson Tigers as my national champion.
That's funny. I just hearing you talk through all of that because since I had it penciled in since probably 2 or 3 days ago that I have Clemson winning it all, and I was just hearing you talk around it. I'm like, oh, is he gonna go? And then when you said Arch Manning's technically returned, I'm like, oh, he's gonna go with Texas. He's gonna go just bouncing around. And when you went to Clemson, I'm like, dang. Or you said your number one team. I was like, oh. But yeah, I think just like you're saying, Cade Klubnik is when one of the veteran guys. He had a great year last year. It's really for me, it's between them, Penn State, and Texas. Like, oh wow, three of the top four teams in the country right now. Big surprise, but I think Penn State has, the veterans. I think Texas has a great team with Arch Manning. We talk about like, oh, what can he be? He could be amazing. He could just be that guy, and he has all the people around him to help him succeed. But I think out of all of those quarterbacks at the top of the teams at the top of the list, like you said, Cade Klubnik is the only like for sure known. Last year, you can say that like right now. He had a fantastic year, like you said last year, and if he keeps that production with the playmakers they've added, with with just a team that been pretty has kept continuity pretty well this year. I think, that's a team to kind of look out for. And like you said, Dabo Swinney, he's been here before. I was gonna make a huge point of like, oh, like, he's back and all that stuff, but you picked Clemson, so I can't do that. But I think they're gonna get one in. I don't know how it's gonna be the rest of, the next couple of years, but I think they're making the playoffs, and I feel like they're going to be relatively. rested just because they'll probably get that bye week. They don't have the toughest schedule, so I think, that's just a recipe for just making a great run in the playoffs.
Yeah. Wow. Starting the season with the same champion pick. And I'll say you picked it correctly last year in the preseason. You picked Ohio State. They won the whole thing. But okay, that'll be interesting. We'll be rooting in the same way
Yeah,
leading
yeah,
in.
we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. But
But
yeah. And then along the same veins, Heisman now. I mean,
yeah.
with that, everything I just said, for me, it'd be him or Jeremiah Smith. Cade Klubnik. Cade Klubnik. I can't say names today. I don't know what's happening.
That
Cade
happens.
Klubnik and Jeremiah Smith. We've gone. I would go Jeremiah Smith if Travis Hunter didn't win it last year.
Mm,
It the quarterbacks have let someone else take it for a year, and now it's gonna be back to being the quarterback trophy. So Heisman, I'm gonna go with Cade Klubnik.
okay. All right. Well, yeah, I was looking at things from previous years. So back in 2024, we saw our Heisman Trophy odds at the beginning of the year. Dylan Gabriel, Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers, Jalen Milroe, Jackson Dart, Will Howard, Nico, I am leaving, uh, Shadur's up there, but you don't see Travis Hunter up there at
Yeah,
the
it's kind
beginning
of
of the
crazy to
season.
think about.
Going back previously, Jaden Daniels was one of the highest up there that people were expecting him. He was in the top 2 to 5 Heisman odds. Caleb Williams before that, he was up high in the preseason. People expecting him to do well. This year, man, it's not it's hard to tell. Like Cade Klubnik, like you mentioned, you've got Garrett Nussmeier up there. Pretty much the big quarterbacks are being mentioned along with Jeremiah Smith. So and it's like it's hard to considering. Do you make a fun pick or do you make a decision on what you really think is going to happen? Because um, I don't. Yeah, I don't see some of these other quarterbacks necessarily doing it. And I agree with you with Jeremiah Smith. Like we just had Travis Hunter do it, so I'm not sure. So do I make a fun pick? I think I
Do
might.
it. Make it
I
fun.
think I
Make it
might.
fun. Go with DJ Lagway.
I'm here to make it fun. No, I'm gonna go with the other DJ Lagway, who plays in the SEC, who also plays in the state of South Carolina. I'm picking Lenora Sellers
Yeah.
to come out of nowhere, really not nowhere, but to win it. Look, they went 9-3 last season, and there is just it's really a similar story with Florida and South Carolina. There's just some magic with that kid. He can make plays with his legs, with his arm, and I think he can really carry his team. I was close to putting them in the playoff, and I wouldn't be surprised if they scratch a few big wins out and make it in. But if they can make it into the playoff and he shows the promise that he has, I could see Lenora Sellers winning it. So I'm doing it. I'm going Lenora Sellers as my Heisman Trophy winner. And man, that puts it together. I guess we're going all South Carolina for our
Yeah.
picks.
That's kind of gross.
Clemson,
Let's
Clemson.
redo this episode. We'll make some changes. This can't happen.
Well, there you have it. So both of us have Clemson winning the national championship. Nathaniel's got Cade Klubnik then winning the Heisman along with it. I've got Lenora Sellers. Man, it's going to be a fun season to watch. But let's finish it off now. We're talking full season. Let's go down to this first week because we have some huge, huge matchups that we're
Huge.
looking at this season or this week. And they're not as big as they used to be. It used to be you lose one game, goodbye, your season's over. Now there's a lot more leniency, but we're looking as we go into this season at some big games. So let's talk about it. I will start us off. I will pick first, I believe, unless you would like to.
Go for it. I would say based off of last year, but we tied last year,
We
so
did. Last year, last year we both finished 52 and 34 at the end of the season. So yeah, there were some comebacks. Somehow we ended up making it there. But let's start off hot in this year. So first, we got our biggest game of the week. Number one Texas traveling to number three Ohio State, playing at noon on Fox. Huge game that we're looking at this week, and this is hard. If you look at your picks, you gotta maybe look at that and consider what you're
Yeah.
gonna do. But it's in the horseshoe is a big thing. It's there at Ohio State, which is huge. But Ohio State has a lot of changes that they're making. But they also have a lot of returning players. But in this game, Arch Manning in his first huge game that he is going on the road in a hostile environment. I yeah, I just can't pick him to do it. I'm going Ohio State. I'm going Ohio State, winning at home, leaning on their big stars and winning this game.
Yeah, I think it's tough to go. I mean, okay, it's not tough to go against OSU in this position, but I mean, we have two quarterbacks in their first year starting. Um, Julian Sand, complete unknown. We don't know how he's
Yep.
gonna. We've seen Arch Manning play in SEC ball,
Yeah.
which it wasn't against. It wasn't none of the games really against high end opponents. So it's interesting to see how he does in probably one of the most raucous environments he will probably play. There's going to be a lot of SEC games that'll be huge, but it's also at noon. I can't do that. The game's at noon.
Yeah.
It horrible, horrible.
It's
But I'm
Fox,
going
man.
to it's dumb. It's dumb. That's all I'm gonna say. Um, but yeah, I think Ohio State's gonna win it. Coming off of a national championship, Julian Sand, all you got to do, throw the ball at Jeremiah Smith, and you're gonna be successful. But I think it'll be a big learning point for Arch. I think they're gonna have a great season, but I don't think that they're gonna start it off with a win.
Yeah, I agree with that. And yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch for sure. That'll be 9 a.m. here in California, and I've got a meeting at 10. So I'm, I don't know, a little bummed about that, but
Yeah.
I'll make sure I can watch it as much as possible. So both going Ohio State there. Let's go our second game. We've got Notre Dame. That would be uh, a huge game. Notre Dame traveling to Miami, which is a huge one to start off the season that I'm looking forward to, especially considering what Carson Beck's going to look like at Miami. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Notre Dame traveling to Miami, round two of the Catholics versus the convicts. Remember having that game a few years ago?
Oh yeah,
Insane when both teams kind of didn't have any aspirations at all, and now both of them. This is a top 10 matchup, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, this will be an interesting game. I mean, Notre Dame coming off of a national championship appearance. And, obviously they lost Riley Leonard to the NFL. They lost some guys on defense. But I think that, Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman, they've done a really good job at consistently reloading at big positions of need. And I mean, Riley Leonard, loved the kid, but I don't think that, his arm was the reason why they got to where they are or where they got
mm,
last year. And I think that's fine with, CJ Carr coming in. They love that kid. He has a lot of talent. And if he just plays within the system, lean on top two, top one running back in all of college football, I think you're going to be fine. But then Miami, you have a team with Carson Beck. He, I mean, last year, Cam Ward, number one pick that no one talks about just went off. And I think they can do the same thing with Carson Beck, who's trying to improve his draft stock. We'll see how their defense plays up. I mean, a tough team like Notre Dame is one that gave Miami trouble all last year. They have a new
Hmm.
coordinator. We'll see how that goes. I think against my better judgment, I'm going Miami. I think
Mm.
just the veteranness of Carson Beck's going to come into play. I think it might be close to a shootout just because I don't think that Miami's defense is going to be as much improved. But yeah, I'm going to go Miami in this one. And they're home. Can Notre Dame play in just the straight humidity?
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna find out. That's a Sunday matchup, of
Hmm.
course, but Notre Dame, number 6 in the country, traveling to number 10, Miami, and I see some similar things. I'm gonna have to go with Notre Dame to win this game. I don't have a lot of trust in Carson Beck, and that might be unfounded. Like he really has been a good quarterback over the last 2 years for Georgia. Last year, he made some just dumb mistakes in bad situations, some 3 interception games, and that just makes me lose a little faith in him, especially when it comes to big matchups. And I do trust what Marcus Freeman and the whole system is doing there at Notre Dame, so I'm picking them to go into Miami and get the win. Next big one, we mentioned this already in the episode, but LSU traveling to Clemson. This, man, what great matchups they're giving us here. We've got number 4 Clemson, number 9 LSU, a battle of the Tigers. And this is one of the most fun to watch because you've got these returning quarterbacks, both Heisman hopefuls, teams who have disappointed in recent years and are looking to finally take that step in their current regime, like with quarterback and coach together to make it all the way. And with everything we've talked about already, I'm going Clemson to win this game. We both have them winning the national championship. I just I, I don't like Brian Kelly, and and I don't have a lot of hope in him as a coach to get it done. And I really just trust in what Clemson's doing this year. So I'm picking the Clemson Tigers to win it there in Death Valley.
Yeah, I will have to do the same. LSU, I think, is 0 for 4 in their last four openers. They
Mm,
just have a tough time getting going. Yeah, and I don't have the biggest faith in Garrett Nussmeier. I think he had a fine season last year, but I think in big moments, like you watched that South Carolina game, should they have won that game? No. They made too many mistakes. They probably should have lost that game if not for if that one unnecessary roughness call.
mm,
But yeah, I think LSU they're turning around the program. I think they're in a good direction, but I think going with obviously we both picked Clemson to win it all, and I think this is going to be Cade Klubnik's first game of that's the Heisman game. But
mm.
it could also be maybe he's not Heisman material, so we'll see. But I have Clemson going.
Yeah, both picking Clemson in that one. Now, here we have a very interesting matchup because these are two teams that are somewhat of unknowns coming into this year of what they're totally going to look like. But we've got Alabama at Florida State, which is going to be really interesting. Number 8 Alabama at Florida State. What do you think in this one?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, a lot of unknowns. Florida State, are they going to be as bad as they were last year? I think that's a question on
Hmm.
everyone's mind. I mean, yeah, they they got Thomas Castellanos. I think he's a good from Boston College, good quarterback. I don't think he was a top end talent in the portal. Um, and Alabama, they're strutting out Ty Simpson, right? They
Hmm.
went
Yep.
as a starter. Yeah. So, obviously he's been in the system a little longer. So Alabama kind of knows what they have with Ty Simpson. He played a little bit the last 2 years, but I think it's you got to go Alabama here. I mean, Florida State, I believe they will be better than last year. It's hard to be worse and hard to be the same, but I think they did a better job in the portal, which you can never know. That's the big, that's always the big point. Like you never know what you're gonna get. Um, but I think Thomas Castellanos, he just makes plays, which is something that they needed, not a quarterback that kind of stands in the pocket and fires and delivers. But I think, yeah, they'll be better, but Alabama's just going to be too good.
Okay. Yeah, this is very interesting, and I don't know if you've seen the quotes from Thomas Castellanos over this offseason, but
Oh,
he's had
yeah.
a lot to say.
A
He's
lot, a lot.
he's he's made quotes like talking about Alabama. They don't have Nick Saban to save them. I just don't see them stopping me. And quotes like, I feel like I tore up the ACC by myself the last 2 years. Now I'm with a squad. He's got a he's got a lot of hope in himself. And yeah, I mean, yeah, he's been fine. I mean, his throwing stats last year at Boston College. He threw for 1,300 yards in 8 games, 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. The year before, in 13 games, 2,200 passing yards, 15 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Not not necessarily tearing up the ACC, as I would call it. And with Boston College, they haven't had the most success. He had a great running year 2 years ago, running for over 1,100 yards and 13 touchdowns, but last year, not as much. So the interesting thing looking at this game is that you've got Florida State coming in and they decided to make a lot of changes. So they're changing their offensive system. They brought Gus Malzahn in to be offensive coordinator, who was at UCF previously with Thomas Castellanos. Before he went to Boston College, they were there together at UCF. So Castellanos knows the offense a little bit. They also made a change at defensive coordinator. So they've shaken everything up at Florida State, hoping to not go 2-10 like they did last year. 2-10. I couldn't believe it. And now they're playing Alabama, which they're not too far apart. They're in Western Florida and Alabama, the Panhandle we often call L.A. Lower Alabama. But with all that, I can't do it. I'm picking Alabama to win the game. I tried to talk myself into it so bad the whole time, but
It's
I'm
yeah.
I'm picking Alabama. Now maybe Florida State can give us some more hope as we play the rest of the season, but we'll see.
I think it's going to be a good game. I like to preface
I,
it. Like
I
I
think
think
so
it'll be a
too.
good game, but it's you can't not go Alabama.
And I think I saw that the last I saw was maybe a 13 and a half point line, which I could see him keeping it within 13 and a half. So that'll be, yeah, I'm interested to see what FSU will be like. But our last game to pick, Virginia Tech against South Carolina. South Carolina, the number 13 team in the nation. And they're going to be hosting here, again, another Sunday game in Atlanta. A big one to watch. And I've talked about my belief in Lenore Sellers. I've talked about how I think South Carolina is going to be. So I'm picking them to win this game. And I, it's interesting. It's Beamer Ball of South Carolina against his dad's old team in Virginia Tech. But I just see him coming off a 9-3 year in the SEC. Everything's pointed up for South Carolina. So I think they're going to get the season started off right.
Yeah, I'm trying to do what you were doing in the last game and just try to talk yourself into an upset. Kyron Jones, he's a pretty good quarterback. He's all right. He's not pretty good. He's all right. Um, I think he can move it pretty well. I think Virginia Tech, this is a year where they want to get going. They've had a little bit of expectations last year that just kind of fell flat. They're a solid team. They almost beat Miami last year. Um, and you know what? It's in Atlanta. It is, there is no home field advantage. South Carolina is walking in with big expectations, and Virginia Tech's going to pull off the upset.
Wow.
We're going to go with it. We're going to go with it just because I love Kyron Jones's name. It's such a cool name, and he has like a 50% completion percentage, but he's big dude. He can move and just run people
Seriously.
over. He's like Cam Newton almost.
Almost, yes. Maybe you're hoping for ghosts of Michael Vick past in the home of the Falcons to be on top of Virginia Tech to be able to win this game. Okay, well, those are our picks for this week, and that's our episode. So we've got some fun football. I mean, I'm just excited for college football to be back. We're recording this
Oh,
on
so excited.
Friday. All the games are the big games starting tomorrow and Sunday. So we're going to be watching like hawks these
Oh
TVs
yeah.
to see
Starting
what
at
goes
9
on.
a.m.
Starting at 9 a.m. Lovely. I'll be up ready to watch and enjoy. So, as always, for Nathaniel Gilmore, I'm Andrew Hudson. This has been the start of a new season of the Swampy Coliseum podcast. We'll talk to you again next week.